Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. 3 questions that I get asked a lot for ACL rehab. Number 1, how often I should be training and rehabbing. Number 2, how challenging, how intense should the training be? And number 3, what type of exercises should I be doing to best optimize my rehab process? In this video, I'm gonna break down exactly the answers to those questions. So by the end of this, you should have some more clarity in your ACL rehab plan. So if you're ready, let's dive into it. So in order to answer those 3 questions very simply, we're gonna break it down, teaching you this one simple principle. It's called the FIT principle, F-I-T-T, all right? So if we look at this picture, it breaks down exactly what FIT is. F is for frequency, I is for intensity, T is for time, and the second T is for type. So when we look at a plan, any workout plan, any rehab plan, we can break it down or divide it up into 4 different things. So how frequent you're doing the thing, right? So how frequent are you executing this program? So it could be twice a week, 3 times a week, etc. How intense you are actually executing these tasks, so these exercises, how challenging they are. We're gonna break these down in a little bit. And then time is how long you're spending on that workout. So it could be 45 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes, and the type of exercise that you're doing. So this could be strength training, it could be flexibility, it could be range of motion, it could be conditioning, cardiovascular, right? So when we think of exercising or any type of plan, we think about the FIT principle. We're gonna teach you exactly how to optimize the FIT principle for your current needs of ACL rehab. Now, I would say just as a precaution, this is going to be really good for people who already have full range of motion, right? So you can see full range of motion, we want to be basically clear to start resistance training, right? Strength training. For a lot of post-ACL surgery cases, everyone's a little different of course, but I would say at least minimum of 8 weeks post-op. If you're post-injury non-surgical, that potentially could be as soon as like 4 weeks, right? Even maybe earlier. Again, these are general guidelines. Every single case is going to be a little bit different, so make sure you consult with whoever you're dealing with, your physio, your PT, whoever it is that you're dealing with. So let's break these down one by one. Yeah. Frequency, right? So common question I get asked is how frequent should I be executing this program, right? Twice a week, 3 times a week, 4 times a week, 5 times a week. And the answer to that is it depends, of course, right? So I would say if you really want to gain muscle, and this is something that's very common in ACL rehab, as you know, we got to build muscle, especially the quads and the hamstrings. A lot of the research now says it's not about frequency as much, but it's more about volume and intensity. Intensity we'll talk about in a couple of minutes, but volume essentially means the amount of sets times reps that you're doing, right? So this is a very simple definition, right? Very simple is how many sets of single leg squats you're doing. So let's say you're doing 3 sets and how many reps? 12 reps. So the volume you did for that workout equals 36. Right? So if we want to increase volume, we then must increase sets or we must increase reps or both, right? So the frequency doesn't really matter as much because in one session, you could be doing a volume of 300, total of 300, or you can be doing something as little as 100, right? So the main thing that you want to hit is for a particular muscle group, if you want it to grow, you want it to get stronger, the research now says you need a minimum of 10 sets per week, right? So let's put that down here. So in order to build, this is for hypertrophy, which is muscle size. So something we definitely need in ACL rehab is muscle size, especially the quadriceps. You need a minimum of 10 sets per week. Now what this means is you're going to be executing quad dominant quad exercises at 10 sets per week, right? So however you want to break it down into your workout, as long as you execute 10 sets per week minimum at a high intensity, you should be able to build, okay? So what most people don't understand is they do things like squats, lunges, RDLs, leg press, thinking that that's a quad dominant exercise. The truth is quad dominant exercises are going to be things like leg extension machine, maybe single leg squats, but really diving into the knee, doing most of the work rather than the hip, right? So in a gym setting, the only way to really isolate your quads is going to be some sort of leg extension machine or leg extension cable or band, right? Otherwise, if you're just doing squats and split squats, we have many other muscles that contribute and help you to execute that movement. So technically it doesn't isolate the quads as much as you want to. So for you to really for you to actually battle your atrophy and gain muscle size, you've got to be hitting this number here, okay? So frequency, going back to frequency, how often you should be doing, at least a minimum of, I would say 3 times a week, right? But in those 3 times a week, you've got to cover the volume and the sets you need that week, okay? So hopefully that makes sense, gives you some more clarity. Moving on to intensity. So essentially how hard you should be pushing yourself, given that you're rehabbing and you're not exactly sure how much to push yourself. Intensity wise, if there's no pain or very little pain, you can push yourself to an RPE. RPE basically means rating of perceived exertion, which essentially means you scale from 0 to 10 how effortful, how hard you're working in that particular exercise. So this is going to be out of 10. So I would say from 0 to 10, 0 is basically no effort. You want to be aiming for at least a 8 plus. So 8, 9, 10 is the effort that you should be pushing yourself in. Most people in ACL rehab miss this point, and if you can get your intensity to at least 8 in every single exercise, you will gain muscle, you will get stronger, and you will get to where you need to be. Most people probably work in the 5, 6, 7 at most, and they think that 7 out of 10 is enough for them to gain the stimulus that they need to build. So that's super important, is understanding how you can scale your own RPE. Another way to scale your effort is using heart rate. So this could be measured by your smartwatch. It could be like a Fitbit, Apple Watch, whatever you use, Garmin or things like that. This lines up really well. So our heart rate has been shown to line up really well with your effort scale. So if your heart rate is at zone 3, zone 4, yeah, hopefully no higher than zone 4 for rehab. So if those things line up really well with effort that you're using. So you can use one of the two. Now, in terms of type can come in resistance training, right? Range of motion, aerobic, which is cardio, and you got mobility and stretching. So we're mostly going to be talking about strength and resistance. This is going to be important for basically all phases of ACL rehab. I would say range of motion is in the early stages, right? Aerobic is super important to start building from early all the way to late stages. And that will depend on what the goals or your end goals are. So if that's a particular sport, you might have to condition yourself according to the demands of that sport. Mobility and stretching, this should be ongoing through the whole ACL rehab process. So the type, mostly you're gonna have to focus on strength and resistance through most of the stages of ACL rehab, okay? Time could be 60, 90. The answer to this is doesn't matter as much as it does for intensity and volume. Okay, so always go back to volume and intensity because those things are going to make the biggest changes and move the needle the most in your ACL rehab if you want to make changes. Because to me, 60 minutes, somebody could be doing a half-assed job just working out at a 5 out of 10 effort for 60 minutes or 90 minutes, and that will basically make no change at all, right? That will make no change in your muscle adaptations. You won't actually grow muscles. Your body and mind doesn't actually adapt. Whereas somebody who works at an 8 out of 10 effort for 40 minutes is gonna make the bigger changes there, just because their body's actually getting the stimulus that it needs to build and adapt. So going back to the FIT principle, your biggest drivers for you to get stronger, get more athletic, and actually make progress in this rehab is gonna be intensity, right? We want that 8 plus out of 10. And it's gonna be frequency, but not so much frequency. We're gonna zoom in and say it's going to be the volume of 10 sets per week for that muscle group. So whatever muscle group that you are trying to gain, you're gonna need that 10 plus sets per week minimum. If you found this helpful, I have a free masterclass that I've created. It's a 45-minute webinar to learn exactly the structure that I use to help graduate many of my ACLers get back to their sport and high-level activities. So if you're interested, there's a link in the description. Check it out, and hopefully you enjoy it too. Today we broke down the FIT principle for ACL rehab. So by now you should know exactly how you should be pushing yourself, how often, and what type of exercises you should be doing. As always, consult with whoever you're working with, your therapist, PT, all that, to make sure that everything is aligned to your goals and your plan. If you enjoyed this video, click the like button, click subscribe, you already know what to do. I'll be posting a lot more videos just like this for ACL rehab, and I'll see you in the next video.